Thank you all for joining us for the second day. It's really nice to see you all here. Today we have 4 presentations from Enea Kavčič, Tisa Toha, Elias Sande, Alessandros Vordoni, and Stefan Capito. The first speaker, Enea Kavčič, is a philosopher, gamer, excellent cultural theorist. Her work has been published in Shum Journal, Vespotia, and she wrote quite a few accompanied texts for different artists.
I will be talking about the internet and specifically internet language. So let's just start right away. It's summer 2024 and you open your Instagram page and you suspect nothing and you go on your For You page in your search tab because people that you are following are either shitposting or campaigning for something that you don't really care about. And then you get hit by this million green squares because, it's broad summer after all, so you're used to it, you're not surprised. But then something catches your eye and everyone else's because NATO is also posting Brat memes. Kind of perplexed, you are looking at this green square that, seamlessly fits with the rest of the Brat post. It's kind of funny in a way, as much, as other Brat posts are funny. But at the same time, it's deeply unsettling. So you ask yourself, why is NATO posting Brat memes? Meme exists with other memes so seamlessly that we can't even label it like a satire or like a cringe or like some kind of weird attempt of a corporation trying to meme, how do you do fellow kids type of wave. This post is completely fluent in the internet language, and it's basically a corporation that has finished its adaptation. But at the same time, you're looking at it, and it is distinguished from all other, ordinary internet users or bots. So instead of, asking ourselves, like people in the comment section, why is NATO cringe posting, or what is their goal, or why they lack self-awareness, and so on, we should look at the format itself. Because meme here archives something that other media couldn't, because this meme format, it negates contradiction in advance. And this is really important. So not long ago, we were asking ourselves, why the left can't meme, or then we have this forgotten age of woke capital. But now we have arrived at a point where meme is something everyone is relentlessly doing, from incels to corporations, from gooners to looksmaxers, from bots to government officials, everyone, from podcasters to state, everyone is memeing. If you ask me, left still can't meme. One of examples is behind me, because they put an edit of Donald Trump clearly trying to criticize him with the sound of Satoru Gojo awakening, firing his hollow purple, and this is a positive figure. So I don't know how can it be a criticism of Trump if Gojo is a positive figure, but we will return to this pending question later, because maybe I am a boomer at this point and I don't understand memes anymore. But then again, I did find 6, 7 funny, so I don't know what to think about that. But yeah, it doesn't stop here. They aren't just posting memes, they are participating in these comment sections, they're using phrases, they're using GIFs and clips used by, ordinary users. No? And those phrases used to give the impression of having an insight or participation in an inside joke, or knowledge or of something that others didn't know about, something that represented your own bubble, your own little corner of the internet that you carefully constructed. So what used to feel like an inside joke is now commonly used by everyone in every context. And we even developed a social response to this, again, in a form of a meme. When we say, oh wow, this intern has to get a raise, or protect this intern at all costs. We invented this persona of an intern so we can relate to these companies, because we are just coping with the fact that we are indeed pleased that all these big companies or big accounts or celebrities are interacting with us like they are our friends, like they're in our little bubble. So this creates a specific atmosphere in which every interaction on the internet feels personalized and generalized at the same time. It paints this sort of landscape that feels imploded, desubjectivized, and overstimulating at the same time. Maybe Mark Fisher would put it that way. So it also functions as fluctuating feedback loops. And the actions of users are inflated, they feel worth historical, and they are negligible, so they change nothing at the same time. And artist Brina Kavčič noticed this phenomenon of overstimulation of this behavior that's making users increasingly emotionally unstable, and therefore making them react to anything and everything. And she encapsulated this feeling with this evil Pepe, or devil. Her exhibition involved a recurring evil Pepe spawning on her Instagram profile as a tracker, as a devil showing himself periodically. So this devil acted like the feed itself. It was circular, repetitive, self-intensifying, and organized around those fractal pleasures. And devil appears and reappears like a shadow attached to your scrolling. You see him, then he's gone, then he emerges again, and this produces like a specific dreamlike paranoia. Like, did I really see him, or did the feed hallucinate him into place? And this uncertainty mirrors our participation online, what we engage with, what we like, what we comment on, what we get triggered by, and what we ignore. But why devil? What is about social media or all this behavior that invokes the devil? We can see him that he's laughing, he's enjoying himself, and this should make us ask ourselves, like, why is he having such a grand time? And to answer this, I was thinking about this film from Joan of Arc from 1989. And I don't know if you watched it, but late in the film, when Joan is captured and imprisoned, like this hooded visitor comes in herself, and he can be read as God, as devil, or maybe even as a hallucination. And he doesn't, tempt her with pleasure, comfort, or bargain, but he does something much worse. He interrogates the basis of her certainty. So he takes all her, sublime messages that she received from God, and instead faces them with rationality. He is pushing her towards a collapse, where the only remaining question is, what if your certainty was never guaranteed by God at all? So, obviously, my interpretation, this hooded figure is the devil, because he does everything in his power to make her believe that she, in her pursuit of glory or revenge, used God selfishly for her own cause. He's trying to make her face herself and revalue her experiences, commanding her to take responsibility and not to hide under God's veil. So, in other words, he arrives as a procedure, like an inner audit that has very, very particular aim. It tries to detach the act from this transcendent guarantee and reattach it to something explainable, like trauma, vanity, enjoyment, guilt, desire for recognition, and so on. So it doesn't say do evil, but instead it says your good was never pure, your certainty was never warranted, and so on. So that is why he can be interpreted as God as well. But the difference is the wager, because God's demand can still preserve a stake, something you can lose, something you can sacrifice, something that costs you, as we see in Joan's end of the story. But devil's demand turns the entire thing into this endless justification. It replaces this wager with infinite loop. So let's go back to the internet and ask ourselves what kind of looping is happening on the internet, whether we can recognize this endless justification. Mark Fisher writes that cybernetic media intensify the schizophrenic implosion of subjectivity and emphasizes these closed loops, reproduction, and exhausted repetition. So if we take a look at internet activity, it's precisely that. Everyone is participating and reacting to things and events via memes and this internet language. So everyone, from companies to individuals, is expressing their opinions, it's heavily questioned, in the same context as everyone else. This is why it's completely normal to like and repost like a PDD hate post and like, a meme of Stephen Hawking on Epstein Island in the same scrolling session. Like it's not contradictory. It makes sense, kind of. The first one is being like a content event. Second one like a joke object, like a cultural token. So the platform doesn't punish this contradiction. Contradiction is just another, generator of engagement. And I'm not here to say, oh no, people are inherently evil, or people are immoral subject by nature, or people can't tell good from bad. The point is that the platform trains a different orientation. So what matters is what produces the most satisfying outcome right now. Like everything can be satisfying. Righteousness, cruelty, irony, disgust, hype. Like it doesn't really matter which one you enjoy the most. If most people are making fun, for example, of Amber Heard rape testimony, your reaction isn't, to listen to this testimony and form your own opinion. And even if you do, this opinion is pre-made, but instead make another soft rape joke. Like even companies did that, like that makeup company Milani. They just enjoyed making fun of her like the rest of the normal users. Let's think about it a bit further. So Anton Barbara Kay points out that on the internet, no one is responsible because everyone contributes these tiny inputs. So meme language now serves as a perfect tool for this type of low-level contribution, and it compresses the information to general, like readable level that can be applied to everything, regardless of any context. In the past, memes served like a compression for which you had to know the references and the details and the context, but now this is no longer the case. Meme is the message, as Bogna Konur formulates it, to the extent that knowing how to speak this meme language automatically means you can post and form, or rather gather, collect opinion about everything. The meme pushes towards, reduced resistance, reduced delay, and reduced seriousness, reduced cost. And this is the most important. But at the same time, this kind of satisfaction chasing collapses the boundary between real and fictional in a very specific way. Like not everything is fake or everything is AI or, stuff like that, but more like lying becomes an operative mode of action. When this happens, evil no longer appears like this hidden transcendent sign, but more like interface effect, like an atmosphere you participate in more than a position you hold. So maybe like to put it in different way, Mark Fisher describes this in flatline constructs. The cyberspace is both simulating the world and being continuous with it. So you become so schizophrenic because you actually convince yourself you watched that popular anime that popped up on your For You page, or that popular series. You're even outraged about its ending because that's the current general consensus. You're like, it doesn't matter, you never read the manga itself, you were never watching the series, but you can form an opinion because language allows you to do so. Like you can even be a fan of a particular character, like Gojo that I mentioned, and you can spend hours making edits of him without ever watching the actual anime. And you can do that because the structure allows it. This, of course, means that occasionally people get caught, like, oh my God, you really didn't read, or we really don't know about this thing. But this risk is it's very low, and it's basically non-consequential. So meme language basically camouflages everything and allows everything to be yours. And this is extremely important, because if you take a funny example, were you having a sexual awakening watching Aragorn open doors in Helm's Deep in 2 towers? Like, probably not. But at the time you were thinking about Legolas or not watching Lord of the Rings. But someone else has, and they posted it and made a viral video, and now you have to. Like, how else would you understand the meme? Why it popped up on your feed? Like, it really makes you feel that same emotion. You know what they are talking about. You think they know. You understand it, so you think it's real. It's that simple. So from here, lashing out becomes very transparent too, because people on the internet are extremely reactive to things, because when something new comes up, they first have to, break up with their own old image, like their old belief system. And funny example of this is Robert Pattinson, because, as you know, he has very specific and loyal fan base for a long time, and now when his popularity is surging again, the new fans, I mean, all the people on the internet, like, simply adopted him and his, OG fan base. Him being famous for not being a classic celebrity, him hating on Twilight, and so on and so on. So then he has this promotional video with Zendaya, and he says that he would find it very sexy if a woman would secretly pay on a date. And at that moment, hyperstition is self-triggered, because what he says caused a miscommunication between hype around him and values that belong to the very same hype. So this inconsistency became so jarring, and people in the comment section, like you can see, reacted accordingly. So with disapproval, because in current internet atmosphere, saying something like this is very, like, no-go. You can't say that, especially with Zendaya sitting across you. And this happens because none of these people are actually his fans, the OG fans, or whatever you want to call them. And I'm not trying to say the new fans are posers, because posers were trying to, fit in or trick people. They know what they're talking about. But these fans, they don't. They just have the language ready-made for them to be fans. If you're really his fan, you probably expected him to say something like that, and even got a chuckle out of it, but not people on the internet. So this was like a perfect example for this presentation. So, okay, Delville represents this outside in, and Anton Barber Kay states that the digital technology reshapes people outside our notice. So he even calls digital technology as natural. And because revolution not only happens in the platforms, but within each of us. And for example, the flat line in Fisher terms is not like simply that, but a zone where identity is produced and dismantled. This flat line is where forms of subjectivity break down and decompose. This is where the endless loop of enjoyment, misunderstanding, exclusion, violence, and pseudo-inclusion comes from. The thing is that this kind of fragmentation, abandoning the empirical, could be progressive and produce, communities that are less gatekeeping and more imaginative. But instead, we got this level of compression and satisfaction chasing that jumped ahead and resulted with these momentary emotional and violent outbursts that are barely in touch with reality. It also explains why violence, like Amber Heard's case, produces the most engagement. Another example, please don't cancel me. is coming from fandoms, because fandoms are very, very transparent and they're not hiding anything. And this one comes from the game Love and Deep Space, and it's Chinese mobile otome video game. And in this game, you basically date 5 guys at the same time. Like, these guys are not morally perfect subjects. And this particular guy named Caleb is your brother. English version of the game had like this low-level censorship, because in English we cannot call our lovers brothers and so on. Like in Japanese, we have this word kege, where this is completely normal. But English players, Western players, were still pretending this is not happening, and then they had a very big crash out when this event behind me happened, because they were pretending they were playing the game, but they were actually not playing the game. They were playing the game only through viral clips, because if you are in the game, you immediately know, like, he's your brother, and you're never surprised about it. But no, this is not what happened. So fandom had like a complete aneurysm. Western fandom tried to cancel the character entirely. It was chaos, and they even pushed for complete cancellation, deletion of the game, and so forth. But this didn't happen, because why would Chinese game listen to Western audience? And when it happened again a few months later, this brother incident, they again lost their minds. So people never learn, and they just want to enjoy things. Like, it's enjoyable trying to cancel something. It's enjoyable to enjoy this kind of things. Like, it doesn't really matter with these people. So this is kind of the paradox. So the platform moralizes everything while making judgment itself impossible, because the verdict would end in the loop, and the loop itself is actually the product. So devil that we talked about appears precisely when he can be shown without punishment. So the lack of punishment and consequence shows us not only that nothing really matters, but also that everything that happens in narrative and discourse is void. And that's why devil is having such a great time on the internet. He doesn't even have to question your beliefs, because you can't and you won't have none. The devil is that infernal internal voice that says, oh, but you are rational, you are moderate, you are telling the truth, you are doing the good thing, while you're just feeding the machine that rewards any output whatsoever. So the devil here doesn't mean to persuade you to do evil. He just needs to persuade you that your participation is morally meaningful while keeping it consequence-free. He turns ethics into an interrogation that never becomes action. That's also why dialectics on the internet collapse into this dead syntax. When someone is in an argument, they say, oh, I was just joking. Oh, imagine caring so much. Bro thinks I'm actually serious. Actually, let me hold your hand when I say this. So devil doesn't have to hide, because he is everywhere. And yet it becomes unintelligible because it's compressed inside language. So the smallest transferable unit of attention. And when everything is content, nothing is legible as a decisive act. And where there is no act, there is no judgment. So sorry for this Hegelian input. So discussions are starting to look like this famous 2017 Facebook chatbot AI exchange between Alice and Bob. It's very similar, because we don't even know why the compression happens. We just know we are miming and we are having fun, and every comment section is funny, and that's it. This kind of language is making participants looking increasingly like these paper clippers instead of classical AGIs, and therefore making people look like bots. So we can return on to this Gocho meme that I can't let go of, and we can think about it. So what is wrong with this meme? And actually nothing is wrong, because when you're producing memes without knowing the context, every once in a while this will happen. You will put a hero with a villain, and you won't even know that you did that. You will think it's okay, and not to just shame Democrats. Republicans are doing the exact same thing. If you're chronically online like me, probably you've seen Alisa Liu, the golden winner in ice skating, and that famous line of hers when she said, "I would mock." And suddenly both left side and right side were using the mock phrase as to prove their own point. So like it doesn't matter at all if she is Democrat, she is liberal, she is Republican. It doesn't matter. Like they will just use it because it's content and because it is funny, and that's all that matters. That's all that matters. So I would say that this Democrat intern just never watched Jujutsu Kaisen, and that's it.